Every single Wednesday night, an explosion, a new revolution in professional wrestling on TNT. All elite wrestling dynamite, the big colors.
You went German there. All elite wrestling. That's what they call it in Denmark, I think.
Yes, all elite wrestling dynamite every Wednesday night on TNT, and you can of course catch it on the TNT app. The man who is the champion, La Champion,
Right.
Is Chris Jericho. Once again, back here in Chicago at the Sears Center. This is a city you are deeply connected to in terms of just momentous parts of your career, both in wrestling and obviously in music with Fozzy. And you had your big debut with Monday Night Raw here, and of course you were part of All Out. What makes Chicago so special?
Well, I won the title here too. Yeah. I don't know. Chicago is one of those places. Whenever you see it on an itinerary, whether it's a Fozzy tour or whether it's a wrestling show. Where you go, that's going to be a good show. Crowd is always great in Chicago. It's just one of those places where it's just a great energy and a great vibe. And I think as a result, I don't think you ever plan events according to the city. But whenever something happens in said city that's kind of has a chance to be classic, it becomes even more so with a great crowd. And that's what all those things you mentioned, from the debut with the WWE to winning the title here a few months ago to all the Fozzy shows we've had. It's just a great atmosphere. People just like to have fun in Chicago, I think.
Mm-hmm. There's something irreverent about it. It's a city that doesn't have. We have a good BS detector, but at the same time, when we like something, we go all on board. And with wrestling, that's definitely it.
Yeah,
you're either on or you're not.
It's a Midwestern city. The Midwestern towns are always kind of a little bit more heartland. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say Chicago's as big as New York, but it's a giant city. But it's not New York, and it's not kind of as angry as Detroit, and it's not as star-studded and kind of ritzy as L.A. Mm-hmm. It's just more of kind of like a hard-working, rock and roll city. And I think rock and roll and wrestling go hand in hand. So it's just, like I said, it's one of those places every time you're there. There's certain cities that I won't name that they're not going to be great crowds, and it hurts the show.
Yeah.
You can have a great performance, but if the crowd isn't super excited, it kind of takes things down a notch. If the crowd is super into it, even if your gig isn't perfect, it makes it better. So Chicago's one of those cities.
You have been doing this a very, very long time at the top level, and even been able to go away for a few years and then come back to it and do all these different things, the book, the podcast, and all that different stuff. Staying on that top level in wrestling is not an easy thing to do, especially with everything else you're doing. What do you credit that to? And then on top of that, not just doing the same type of character or trying to evolve it a little bit, you're doing completely new characters. It seems like every 4 or 5 years there's a new evolution. You're the Doctor Who of professional wrestling. Somebody told me that.
Well, I would go with David Bowie. I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I think it's the same idea. You're constantly evolving and updating and not living in the past. I think that I was never cut out for that. I never wanted to do the same thing twice. And I feel it when the time is right to change. I knew when it was right to change out of Y2J. I knew when, the countdown clock or, the list even, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be in AEW, because I know if I went back to WWE, they'd want me to do the list because it's so popular, but it doesn't fit anymore. It's just one of those things that time moves on. And it's good to always update your act, update your look, update what you're doing, and still obviously pay homage to your history and your legacy, but constantly make it more contemporary.
Yeah.
And that's not selling out. Like if you talk about the new Ozzy song, Under the Graveyard, it's number 4 this week. Like Ozzy with a top 5 song at 70 years old. Like what?
Started in 69.
But the reason is the song, it's still Ozzy, but it's got a different guitar player. It sounds more contemporary. It just sounds more now. And that's kind of what I've always done with Chris Jericho. If something starts feeling a little bit nostalgic, I drop it, and I have no problems dropping it. It's great to go back and look at it and remember it, but, the list was 2016. A little bit of the Bubbly and Le Champion is 2019. That's where I live now. So I think that it's great to have a body of work that people go, I like this era best, or I like that era best. But as long as you continue to keep your fans guessing so that they never know exactly what they're going to get from you, they'll be that much more engaged and that much more apt to continue to follow you.
You've always been creatively motivated, and that's obviously clear in your answer there. A lot of the people that I've spoken to, I spoke to Jon Moxley, and he said something about you, and we'll touch on it in a second. The creative freedom that you guys have here in All Elite Wrestling is something that keeps coming back up. Everyone keeps talking about it. How important was that for you at this stage in your career, it was some people said it was a dice roll for you. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like you're very motivated.
No, it was a dice roll though because it's uncharted waters. It still is. I mean, we're only 9 weeks into this new, the good ship AEW, and it's one of the reasons why I was very attracted to coming here and doing something different, completely cutting off all my ties to the past. Which of course would be WWE, and that's not in a mad way or a bitter way or anything like that. I loved working there. I said I would never work anywhere again until I went to Japan, and I just had so much fun being completely creative and being in charge of everything that I was doing, and knowing that it was good and knowing that it works and knowing I don't need anybody to tell me if this is good or not because it just is. I think that's something that we really strive for in AEW, and everyone's on the same page. If you think it's good, we're going to give you your license as a professional and as an artist to try it. Every single week I've done something that I've been very proud of. I could probably name them week by week, which is very strange because 8 weeks might as well be 8 years in pro wrestling. But it's stuff that I know is going to work. This is not rocket science. You make stars. You have good guys and bad guys. And you put on entertaining segments that people remember. These are all coming from my mind, from Tony Khan, from Cody, from the Bucks, from Chris Daniels and Scorpio Sky, and everyone that I work with. We put our heads together and come up with what we think is the best route. And 9 out of 10 so far, we've been right. And we don't have to get it approved. We don't have to put it through any type of system or have everyone put their spin on it. When you have 100% of a great idea, and when it finally goes through the system, it's about 70% of what it was. And you know that 70% isn't as good, but you have to compromise because that's the way it works. This doesn't work that way here in AEW.
Yeah, and that's got to be freeing to you.
Yeah.
So as a competitor, though, you certainly made some great choices recently. You have a great faction behind you with Inner Circle, Sammy Guevara, Pride and Powerful, Jake Hager. Those are some strong dudes. And now you're the AEW champion. People see that maybe you've built yourself a pedestal, and you're very proud to jump up on top of it. Someone I spoke to yesterday, and fans can see it on the 101 WKQX YouTube channel, is Jon Moxley. He's another guy just like you, top player in the WWE, rolled the dice and came here.
Yeah.
I asked him about goals that he would have. And obviously, some people would think that another confrontation between you guys in a completely new setting in AEW is eventual. And he said, you're one of the smartest guys in the business. You're one of the greatest of all time. Nice compliment, but here comes the insult. He said that you don't want to with him.
Yeah, I saw it. Well, the thing is, here's the best part, is that Moxley is not Dean Ambrose anymore. This is a completely different guy. He's motivated. He knows exactly who he is, and he went through the system in WWE, and he wasn't able to harness it and work with it. I could work in WWE for years because I understand how to take what they want and make it good. He couldn't do that to the extent. We had a great rivalry in WWE. We did 3 or 4 pay-per-views together, and I enjoyed it so much. But he was a watered-down version of who he is now. Jon Moxley is the real guy, and it's one of the reasons why I orchestrated, and what's the word you're looking for when you're trying to bring somebody in, whatever it would be, high school scouting. I scouted him, whatever it is, and I knew that he'd be great here because I knew he needed to change. So selfishly, I knew Moxley would be a great opponent for me. So I don't want to fuck with him. I pay people to do that. That's what the Inner Circle's for. I just look for great stories and a great confrontation between us when the time is right. It might be 6 months from now. I don't know. I just know he's another legit top star, former world champion who came to AEW, and the moment he walked through these doors, became an even bigger star just by being in AEW. And recruiting is what I was trying to think of before.
AEW has a lot of fresh new faces that people are really, really excited about. And I know you certainly understand how to see a star, and you've talked about that and mentioned just recruiting him and making this new world for him. Who are some people that you're just like, you haven't done anything with them yet, but you're like, oh boy, when you and I get some time together and we get to go out there and do it, I'm excited to do it with you.
Well, and there's quite a few. Darby Allin was one of those guys from the start. Look where he's at now since the beginning. Scorpio Sky is another one we're going to have tonight. We're going to really make him a star. I think Jungle Boy. My teenage daughters don't care about wrestling, but they love Jungle Boy because he's something that wrestling is missing, which is a heartthrob for the teenage girls, like a Jonas Brother or one of those type of guys who the girls love.
Sex appeal,
right? I like that idea. So he's a guy. I think Luchasaurus is going to be a big star for us. I think I think Jake Hager, when he starts wrestling, is going to be somebody that's very hard to deal with in the ring. But pretty much like Pentagon, Phoenix, like those guys are tag team. Easy could be singles superstars. Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson as well. And there's a lot of guys kind of coming up that haven't really had a chance to show off who they can be yet, because we've only been doing this for 9 weeks. I love when people go, we don't know anything about this person. We need more video package on that person. It's only been 9 weeks. Yeah. Wait until 9 months from now and see where everybody is. We're going to get to everybody. I promise you. We know that you need to know who these people are, but when you're basing everything over the first few months, year, whatever it is, over what Jericho's doing, what Cody's doing, what Kenny's doing, what Moxley's doing, there's only 2 hours of TV time every week, so that does edit down some of the personality profiles. But we will get there. We're just now starting to figure out who the Jurassic Express is after Lucha got hurt. Those guys will be big stars as soon as we start working on them. Dark Order's another one. You know way more about them now than you did 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's true.
So everyone that's complaining, just quiet down, enjoy the show for what we give you, and we promise that everyone will get their fair share to get over and to have great personalities, because that's the only way that the show can grow and continue to be the hottest program in wrestling.
So obviously you're the champion. There's a little bit more pressure in there, and I heard you mentioned the unreasonable critiques, fans overreacting too soon and not savoring the moment and pushing things. And then the other thing I heard that was completely unreasonable, and you heard it too. Oh, why are they going with the WWE guy as their champion? Why are they going with him, and he's there and he's been there so long? But you perform in spite of all of that, and then you proved it with the Cody match, and you proved it with the promos. And
I don't have to prove anything. And the thing is, a WWE guy, I mean, that's not even really true, because my last WWE appearance on national TV was, I think, May of 2017. So it's not like, I jumped right from one to the other. It's basically a 2-year gap. Now, I'm always going to be associated with WWE, but I think, like you mentioned, just by the way I present myself now, and also, too, you can't teach experience. And I think, egotistically, not egotistically, I'm the best guy for the job right now, because it's the same thing I did in New Japan. When I went to New Japan, you had, 100,000 people that followed me for the match against Kenny Omega that had no idea who anybody was except for Jericho. I was the bridge that brought them to New Japan. When they got there, they saw who Kenny Omega was, and the Young Bucks, and Cody, and Okada, and Naito, and all the great guys there. Same thing here. AEW, what's that? Well, that's some guys we don't really know. Jericho's there? Wow. That's a big deal. Let's check out that show. If Jericho's there, maybe it's good. And when they see it, now they go, wow, who are all these other guys that we've never heard of before that are suddenly our heroes on Wednesday nights? So it was a very smart move to put the title on me, because it's my goal to bring people, to recruit fans over from WWE to say, give us a try. If you like me, maybe you'll like this. And we're seeing that most of the people do like it. So there's some growing pains for sure. But I don't think putting the title on anybody else would have been as beneficial. And also the fact that I'm the guy that everyone's talking to on the TV shows, all the promos, the Talking Deads and the Fallons, and you name it, I'm there. So I think that it was a very smart move. Is it going to last forever? Absolutely not. And plus, at this point in time, I think I'm maybe better than I've ever been. Match-wise, I still have the best match, or one of the best matches on the night. And promo-wise, I don't think anybody in the company or in the business right now can touch me. Name one. And that's not being a dick. I'm just saying I understand what to do and how to engage people and how to connect with them. And that's the number one way to get people to watch your show.
You mentioned promos. Obviously, you win the championship, you're storming through backstage, and an off-color remark becomes...
In this dressing room,
in this dressing room right here. Bubbly was right over there.
Yeah, I was actually right over there.
So you did some time in L.A. With the improv troops and doing different things and performing in comedy and doing different shows like that. Was it something where it was yes and? You knew it right away? Oh, Bubbly is a thing.
No, I didn't know it was. As a matter of fact, I had to record that about 5 times, even though it was supposed to be live, because they kept screwing up. The audio was bad. Something went off. So I was starting to get flustered. I'm like, listen, are we doing this or not? I can't keep giving you all these great bits over and over. He said, don't say the same thing twice. So at that point, I was like, we're doing this. There was a great line of Scorpio Sky that kind of foreshadowed what we're doing tonight. The line that I thought was the best was a Spinal Tap, where there's an olive and there's a little guy in there, and there's who's in there? No one. Like, this catering is terrible.
Bread's not big enough.
That's right. Yeah. So I got myself off on the olive line, and then I just looked and saw a random bottle of champagne, and threw out the Jim Carrey, Lloyd Christmas, a little bit of the bubbly, and never thought anything about it. Next day or a couple of days later, later, there's memes coming out with a Mambo number 5, a little bit of bubbly on that, and suddenly there's like literally, I don't want to say hundreds, but there's literally dozens and dozens, probably close to 100, and it's people being creative with this ridiculous meme, GIF, whatever. And using their own creativity. It was such great. There's a Hannibal Lecter one that was great. There's a David Lee Roth one, and just you name it. It was amazing. And we created a whole new catchphrase. So you're smart enough to know when you catch lightning in a bottle, you go with it. But I never would have guessed that would have got over like it did. But once it does, you have to keep your ear to the ground. We had a Bubbly shirt up on Pro Wrestling Tees the next day. That was the top seller of all time in a 24-hour period. It was one of those moments that people just really dug it. You never know why. I don't analyze it. I just go with it. And now we're unveiling actual little bit of the Bubbly champagne sparkling wine here tonight.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
When are we going to see
it's
that?
on sale at a little bit of the bubbly.com. I'm not kidding.
Of course, coming up not too far from now, Wrestle Kingdom, Japan. You've had a relationship there. This is a huge platform for you and a huge match with one of the biggest wrestling stars in Asia. You and Hiroshi Tanahashi. What do you think of this match? This is big level stuff right now.
Well, when I came to AEW, I'd come right off the buzz of Japan and had 6 great matches there. Really enjoyed it, 2 years, and I still wanted to work with Okada and Tanahashi. And so that's what we did. We did Okada in June and Tanahashi at the Dome this year. Am I going to do more matches with New Japan? I don't know. I just know that I got a chance to work with all of these tremendous performers. And Tana's the last one. When you've been doing this as long as I have, and there's someone you've never wrestled that you hear is amazing, I want to know. I want to find out for myself. I've seen him. I saw him and Kenny Omega tear the house down last year. I want to know for myself, how good is he? So I'm really excited about it. But it's funny because I had so much emphasis on Japan in 2018 and 19 that in 2018 going into 19, whatever year it is now, it was almost like I've almost kind of forgot about it. Now, once we get the weekly TV done, which December 18th is our last show, December 25th is off because it's Christmas. Then I'll really start focusing on the Tana match. But I didn't have weekly TV before to focus on. So it's great. I'm excited about it. We did some great videos for it. I think people are excited about it, but I'm not as ear to the ground with New Japan as I was even a year ago. But I do know Tana's amazing. I'm expecting for us to have a great match.
You put out a great signal here as we close up here. Father Christmas, a wonderful song by the Kinks, and for a great charity. And where can people get it? A fun, irreverent song. What a choice, too. Everyone picks the same old traditional Christmas songs. You're putting it out for a charity. It's a wonderful cause.
I wanted to do a Christmas song because you're guaranteed airplay at least once a year. And there's not a lot of great original.
As a radio guy, I appreciate that.
Of course. I'm not stupid. And if I hear A Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney, again, I'll probably blow my brains out because it's not a bad song. It's the most annoyingly catchy song ever. It doesn't get out. It's classic, as John Lennon said, one of Paul McCartney's granny songs. But it's so catchy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do the Kinks tune. I always love that song. I love 70s Kinks. I think they're very underrated when you talk about great bands from the 60s that were also great in the 70s. The Who, the Stones, McCartney. The Kinks got to be right up there. I hadn't heard a lot of people that had covered it, although there's a few now that the song has come out. But the Fozzy guys weren't interested because we're doing a new record. So I said, well, I'll just do it myself, assemble a couple of musician friends I have, and just thought, let me put it out. I'll put the proceeds for research for type 1 diabetes and have some fun with it. And it's been going really good. And like I said, to me, it was more of just a labor of love, something that I wanted to do. And when it comes out, it sounds killer. It rocks. There's a great guitar solo involved. And it gives people another option of a Christmas song to listen to instead of the same ones over and over and over
Mariah
again.
Carey suddenly goes to the top of the charts.
Santa Claus is coming down, Bruce Springsteen, The Reason for the Season by Striper, and that's about all the good ones I can think
you get
of.
A Striper
of course, well, that's a good one, though.
Of course, AEW Wednesday nights, Dynamite on TNT.
Dynamite!
And it's on the TNT app as well. A new Fozzy record coming in 2020.
Yeah, we're it's slower now because we're working single by single, but we're on Sony Music, and that's what they want us to do. So I will say that the record is called 2020, so we better have it out by 2020, or that won't make any sense.
It'd be better if it was 2021.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Of course, Chris Jericho. You can follow him at I Am Jericho, and get the podcast as well on the Westwood One podcast app.
Talk is Jericho.
Talk is Jericho. Wonderful new photo you just put out there on Instagram. See, I can't catch up. This is what I got.
The flowing locks, the fan going
Very
on.
jealous.
Exactly,
very jealous. We're done.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.